Guys, give me 15 seconds. I'm going to go pee right outside the door. I'll be right back.
Go do
Outside?
it, essay.
Dying. Yeah, I don't want to go all the way in the house.
Go do it, essay.
Okay.
He's got to go pee-pee.
Oh, my God.
Orale.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me are my co-hosts, Ash Aztec Princess Baca.
Hi, y'all.
And Big D Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. That's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, Lovecraft Country, Game of Thrones, American Gods, True Detective, and Watchmen. Find all the information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, to hang out with us live all week long, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing today?
Gene, this week we are reviewing a film for one of our listeners, Paul P., that bucks a trend going back to the beginning of Shat the Movies. Often when we see a movie that's over 3 hours, it's immediately a warning sign to the reviewers and anyone listening to this podcast. But we're hoping that this week could be different. As our listener, Paul P., had commissioned the 1993 American epic crime drama film, Blood In, Blood Out.
Well, and our commissioner wrote in and said, "Hi, Shat team. First off, thanks for all the content that you produce. It was a huge help for me in getting through the pandemic. Blood In, Blood Out feels like a forgotten movie, especially to me, as I didn't find out about it until maybe 4 to 5 years ago via the interwebs. I'm especially curious how you were watching it. Definitely isn't on any streaming service I can find. Did you use YouTube, DVD, or VHS? Anyway, getting to the content itself, Miklo deserves to be in the upper echelon of kings. Homeboy is leading an entire criminal organization with one leg and doing it with style. But besides that, this film does a nice job, in my opinion, of showing a side and time of Los Angeles that isn't really captured in other films. And I'm a sucker for epics over multiple decades. So it checks that box for me too. And lastly, Billy Bob Thornton. Don't really know how to describe what he's doing in this movie, but I'm here for it. Curious to hear your thoughts as always, Paul.
I watched it on YouTube and thought it was a perfectly fine experience.
Same.
Oh, you guys are crazy. In the 270 plus movies that we've done, there has never been this big of a challenge. It's almost like they tried to hide this movie actively. So Gene comes up, he says, "Oh, I've got a link for it. It's on YouTube." And I'm like, either I have glaucoma or I cannot see what is going on. Now, I struggle with the spoken English language unless I have subtitles. So I can't see what's going on. I can't hear what's going on. It's a mix of English and Spanish. And I feel like Roger Roper watching Heat. I can't keep up with what's going on. I don't know, but I'm liking what's going on. So after my first view through like glasses smeared with mayonnaise, I went to Amazon and I purchased my first DVD in about probably 12 years. And I found a copy of Blood In, Blood Out for $4 on Amazon. And boy, was it worth the purchase.
I don't know. There was something about like the haziness of the YouTube that I felt like, really hit to like this time period of film. It's like when they show like clips. I was watching a documentary the other day, thought about you, Big D, where they were showing clips back from like the early 90s from news programs. And it all looked hazy like this because of how terrible, cameras were back then. So I don't know. I thought it added to the ambiance. It was nice. I like not being able to actually know what Benjamin Bratt looked like at this time period.
Big D's messaging me with photos of each character, like we're doing like an FBI surveillance on these guys. He sends me one. I'm like, that's Miklo. He sends me another one. That's Paco. He sends me one. It's got Miklo coming out of a cab, and he says, "Is this guy white?" So I wrote back, are you fucking trolling me right now? Yes, he's half white. They established that in the first 10 minutes. Then he continues sending me photos, Miklo and his mom. When Tres Puntos are like painting up the alleyway, who's in the alley, he says.
Dude, this was like I was watching a bad surveillance video. I could not see what was going on. And Gene thought I was trolling him, but I was dead serious. I could not see anything. It was a really, really rough experience. But to that point, this movie is 3 hours long. I watched the mayonnaise low-def version, then dedicated another 3 hours to the DVD high-quality version, doing my notes. So I'm into this for about 7 hours so far without doing an edit. So I got to tell you, Paul, you're getting your bang for the buck with this episode.
Well, Blood In, Blood Out, also known as Bound by Honor, is a 1993 epic crime drama directed by Taylor Hackford. It follows the intertwining lives of 3 Chicano relatives from 1972 to 1984. Blood In, Blood Out was filmed in 1991 throughout the Spanish-speaking areas of Los Angeles and inside California's San Quentin State Prison. So we always ask where you were and what your memories are of the film we're reviewing. Today, it's Blood In, Blood Out. Big D, we'll start with you.
Until I heard the revelation of you being shot by Vatos Locos, I had no idea they existed or this film existed. Never knew. And when I looked at the poster, I was like, wow, this is compelling. There's something going on. There's some drama. There's some kind of crime. It's LA. But until this commission by Paul, I had never seen this movie or even knew it existed.
I want to clarify for the gangs out there. I was shot by different locos. I was shot by La Victoria Locos, not Vatos Locos. So
okay.
Anybody out there listening who is Vatos Locos, or if you're a Buddhist, like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to start any shit. Totally different gang that shot me. Growing up in the Tempe and Chandler public school systems, like, the Mexican kids are the kids that I fit in with because I looked like them despite living in mostly white neighborhoods. So this movie was infamous among my friendship group at school. Like, all the kids that I hung out with knew about it, but it was also hard to get, kind of like now. It's hard to find. So most of us experienced it secondhand. Like, people would tell you about scenes in Blood In, Blood Out, but you didn't actually see those scenes. And we would say shit on the playground like, Vatos Locos forever. And we would draw like VL on our notebooks.
Wow.
But I had never had the pleasure of feasting my own eyes upon this masterpiece.
Yeah, I have this distinct memory from Shappy Hour. I was really drunk, which is pretty common for Shappy Hour, and I was sitting on the sofa in my old house because we've since moved. Big D, you had come on, and it was that night you were doing that weird thing where you were going like incognito, so like it was like really dark. Like, you were really dark, and you were sharing things with us and talking about recent commissions, and you talked about this commission. And Gene, you started talking about things from like your childhood and how you knew it, but you'd never seen the movie. And from that day forward, I have been looking forward to finally getting to review this one, because I was really excited about the plot, about the cast, because I love this genre of film. I love a good like prison, gang genre film. I think they're great. And this was my first time, and I am so excited that we found this movie because it isn't gritty in the way that like some other crime movies are. It's kind of laughable at times, but that makes it so much more charming. I'm really excited to do it tonight.
Let's hit the trailer.
In the heart of the city, in the soul of its people, there is a power stronger than law.
I have never been so proud in my life as today.
Greater than life.
Who are you fighting? You're just fighting yourself!
Uy, those are my carnales, they're my family.
I'm your family!
It's the tie that bound them together in their youth,
Let me see the color inside you.
and now will drive them apart. This is the epic story of 3 brothers.
Run, carnal, run! Vatos Locos forever, carnal, let's go!
One searched for truth in the law.
You kill your own people. No!
One expressed his passion through art.
We'll be completely sold out by the end of the night.
And one found power.
You used me. What about all the times you used me?
From the director of An Officer and a Gentleman and the producer of La Bamba. Blood In, Blood Out.
That's a bond you can never break.
In 1972, Miklo Velka is the son of a Mexican mother and abusive white father. He moves to East Los Angeles, where he stays with his cousins, Paco and Cruz. His cousins are in the Vatos Locos gang, and Miklo earns his membership during an attack on their rivals, the Tres Puntos. Tres Puntos retaliates by attacking Cruz. When Vatos Locos counterattack, Miklo shoots and kills Spider, leader of the Tres Puntos. Miklo is imprisoned in San Quentin for murder, and Paco volunteers for military service in the Marine Corps. Cruz continues his passion for art. He develops a heroin addiction, leading to an accidental overdose of his 12-year-old brother Juanito. After the Marines, Paco joins the LAPD. So, Big D, you mentioned on White Men Can't Jump and Friday that those movies were love letters to Los Angeles and helped you appreciate the city more on your first visit there.
Yep.
And I agree. But watching Blood In, Blood Out, you see what a real love letter to a neighborhood looks like. Like, compared to this, White Men looks like it was written by white men in a sterile office. And Friday feels like Ice Cube turned the hood into like a cartoon version of the hood. This movie, it takes its time. It shows us the food, the streets, the family bonds. When Cruz wins that art award from the city, and he's like standing in front of like there's reporters and like the mayor and shit, and he gives Vatos Locos a shout out. Like, you understand why it all matters so much to them, because that's where they come from, and you feel that.
You're being shown a world that these people are not only proud to be a part of, but that you get kind of a little bit jealous, like as the watcher, that you aren't maybe a part of an area that looks like this. And it reminds me of home a lot. It reminds me of New Orleans, where like there are these areas that people would be like, oh, we're going to write this part off because we think that it's super dangerous, right? But the people who grew up there, yeah, there's some grit. Yeah, there's some, maybe you don't walk there at certain times of the night, but like you're going to protect what's yours and like defend that part of the world because it's your part of the world and it's theirs, unequivocally theirs. I have only been to LA like once or twice. I've never seen like quote unquote real LA, but movies like this make me super bummed that I haven't, because I thought this looked pretty amazing.
This isn't a Hollywood love letter. It's not like where everything's clean and pretty and we're seeing the sights. Graffiti is art. The dirty parts of the city. For God's sake, that giant tree in East LA is a character in the film. The sneakers over the power lines. It is truly a love letter to the city and a love letter to the Chicano families, the barbecues. We see the way the family interacts, and it showed me a side of LA that I'd never seen before.
It definitely can't help but be a little self-indulgent from time to time, because in this beautiful credit scene, I'm with them. I'm like, yeah, this is great. The music's great. The images are great. And then they just couldn't help themselves. And we go to this slow-mo regressive scene. It's like a flashback. And here we've got our main character, getting slow-mo slapped by his dad. And it'd be like, I'm so sorry, Dad. And then they cut back to him in present time and then do this random like zoom in on a Virgin Mary painting. And I do think that this is more indicative of the time this movie came out than the movie itself. But y'all, it was hella distracting.
And I think you're being generous. I mean, this movie definitely feels more like 1983 than 1993. I mean, think about, we talked about he came out 2 years after this. Think about how slick, how polished, how modern that felt compared to this. This feels like a movie from the 80s. Yeah, they showed us a lot of cool shit, but they didn't show it in the best or most efficient way. Although apparently it was pretty enough for Big D to purchase on DVD to experience in all its full grandeur.
Well, it was. And I got to tell you, the HD, I texted you. I said, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm seeing the Sistine Chapel after its renovation. This is beautiful. And I'm sending him screenshots of like close up of Miklo and just the family and the cars and the hood of the Aztec warrior. It was great. The beginning didn't have me optimistic. And anytime they show a past event, just in case we didn't know it, they have to make it like a black and white, like telling you this isn't currently happening.
Yeah. And then you get into like the themes of this movie, and it's pretty heavy handed that one of the biggest themes of this film is family. The family like that you have by blood and the family that you shed blood to become a part of. I don't know about you guys, but The older I get, I realize how much of like the way I was raised has shaped my opinions about family. Tom, who I am married to, was not raised in a family that prioritized like these familial bonds. Like his parents charged, his mom's parents a hefty rent when they couldn't live on their own anymore. They paid them an insane amount of rent to live in their basement. My family would never do that. And so for me, I was raised in an area kind of similar to this in the sense that you accept family just because they're family. Like whether you know them well, whether you've been around them a lot, you recognize that there's responsibility to family beyond like all else. And so they start this movie where they take in this like super white cousin who's apparently half Latino, but looks super white. And he becomes a part of them just because of blood. And then they introduce him to his gang family and he's embraced after earning his way in. And it's like all really super old school. And this is not an uncommon theme in movies like this. But one thing I think that this movie did really well is they show that progression in a much cleaner way than in other gang movies that I've watched. I don't know about y'all, but it makes sense why this gang is so appealing for him, because these are his cousins, these are his blood, he's a part of them, and so therefore he becomes a part of everything that they're doing, and it made sense to me why he joins the gang.
Yeah, all it was missing was like a Ray Liotta voiceover to tell you everything that was happening as you were watching it. Guys, I, like you, Ash, was raised in that environment where like, because their family was all you needed to explain a thing. I've got a dilemma right now. My cousin is getting married next month. I had already decided I wasn't going to the wedding because he hangs out with like those dudes from Nelk. He hangs out with like Donald Trump. And it's not that I hate him. You don't need me to be at your wedding, and I don't want to cause a scene if I go to your wedding and my politics or my worldview don't match up with a lot of shitty people who might be there. You're almost doing a person a favor by not attending, right? It costs them less. You could still send them the fucking gift. You write a very nice card and it's done with. My mom last night, she's like, you got to go. He's family.
Yeah.
And I didn't have an argument against it. So I'm like, fuck, now I got to figure out in a month, like how to figure out how to book the hotel, the flights and all that shit to get out there. Why?
It's family.
Family. I don't know. Do you guys think it goes that far? Like, do I have to fucking go?
As soon as my mom would ever pull out the family shit, I'm there. I mean, we were talking off air a couple of weeks ago about like even just like loaning money to family, that like I got in a fight with my husband because I loaned my brother some money. And for me, I'm like, he's fucking family. Like, who cares if he's going to pay us back? He needs money. So I'm giving him money. Right. Because if I hadn't, I would have gotten a call from my dad and I would have gotten a call from my grandmother. And they'd be like, why are you cutting off your brother? Like, why aren't you supporting him? So yeah, once they pull that card, you got to go. That's how we ended up with a really distant cousin living with us out here for 2 weeks. And it was terrible, but she's my cousin. So what you going to do?
Listen, Carnal, he's family. So if you have to tolerate family, they have to tolerate you. You go, get high on heroin. Show up, roll around on the floor. Just don't leave it on the couch as you pass out smoking your cigarette. What are they going to say? Your family. They're going to be like, oh, my Gene's back again on heroin. What the hell are we going to do? He's ruining the wedding, but he's family.
My mom just treats me like a clown. She's like, go do the normal thing. You go talk to everybody, dance, make everybody laugh. Thanks, Mom.
Put on your suit and go.
Gene, when's this wedding?
June 18th.
Oh, so it's quick.
Yeah.
And where's it at?
New Jersey.
Oh, so far.
It's at a hotel dude, Justin Bieber's going to be there.
Can I be your plus one? I'll be your plus one.
I'm sorry, Justin Bieber. That's a reason not to go.
It's a hot ticket. I imagine there's like thousands, if not millions of people in the world who would like to be there. Yeah. If I come off the list, someone else goes on, right?
I've officially asked to be your plus one before I knew the Biebs was going to be there. So you have to take me. I think you and I would have a great time.
Are you going to give it up in the locker room, Sweet Cheeks?
I might lick it clean. I might do that. But listen, let's get back to the movie here. And Gene's talking about some of the deficiencies. Yes, it looks like it's an early 90s, maybe 80s film. But this movie relies, I think, on the cast. They have a large cast of great actors who went on to good things. You got Benjamin Bratt, who's, of course, Miss Congeniality, Law and Order. At first, I thought it was the guy from La Bamba, but then I realized that was not him. We have Delroy Lindo, who was from Get Shorty, Malcolm X, Point Break. Raymond Cruz, Tuco from Breaking Bad, Under Siege, who was in Training Day. You have Billy Bob Thornton, who Paul mentioned from Sling Blade and Bad Santa. Unfortunately, the late Ving Rhames from Pulp Fiction, Mission Impossible franchise. You got Biff, Tom Wilson from Back to the Future. But now I'm going to get to the largest flaw in this film, and I don't know how I overcame it or how the film overcomes this. The casting of Damian Chapa who is the lead of Miklo. Yes, he is of Mexican, Italian, and Irish descent. He looks and acts like the corniest white boy faking a Chicano accent. I felt like it was me doing Cypress Hill, like, yo, you want to get crazy, essay? It was really bad.
Okay, when we were messaging each other, I initially wrote you to say he was the worst part of the movie. I hadn't finished the movie yet. After experiencing the full movie, all of Blood In, Blood Out, all 3 hours, I've got to say Damian Chapa is the only man who could play Miklo.
No.
He is a goofy white dude who desperately wants the role of a Mexican-American gangster. That's who the character is. I'm not saying the movie is campy, but it is far more memorable, more endearing, and more meme-worthy because he's so bizarre. Like, if he was played by anybody else, we wouldn't remember Miklo the way we do.
I had a really bad case of strep when I watched this for the first time. So like you, Big D, I had to watch it twice. And so on my second watch, I looked at my first watch's notes where I had written next to his name, Bargain Bin Christopher Reeves, because that's kind of what he looks like. And he's got these super baby blues, and then he's randomly quoting things in Spanish. I mean, like, take the tattoo scene, right? Like, he does that weird little fist bump to show like he's down with the gang.
Yes.
And I am very white, and I know that, and I own my whiteness, but all I could think to myself is like, wow, this dude is like whiter than anyone I've ever met in my life. And in a way, it like reads as like really uncomfortable, like cultural appropriation, because he is so white. It's like, is this a joke? Is he mocking people? It ruins an otherwise really great scene. And that's one of many scenes in this movie that I think Miklo seriously ruins.
If you look at the most crazy motherfuckers, the dudes who become those insane ass criminals, it's always this guy. He shows up and he wants so fucking bad to be in, but he's so bad at it that he just does crazy shit. He's the one with the pipe smashing windows. He's the guy that's going to go fucking all out because all the guys in Vatos Locos, they know he's a goofy white dude. That's why he's got to go so fucking far to fit in.
You cannot sugarcoat this. He is a bad actor. His delivery, okay, so this was what I kept thinking about. They could have been like, okay, Miklo, in this part of the movie, they're going to ask you if you want McDonald's. And his response is like, hey, Miklo, you want McDonald's? Yes, Ese, I want McDonald's. I told you I want McDonald's. Everything is dialed up to 1,000. He sticks his neck out like a chicken. There is no medium delivery. He goes full-blown Chicano.
Holy shit, guys. Listen, in my teen years, when I would go to shows like Lighter Shade of Brown, right? There were fucking white dudes or half white dudes who acted just like this. First of all, he's a youth and he's trying to fit in. Dude, this is, and I don't say that you guys didn't experience it like I did, but I know this guy. This guy really fucking exists.
So you think this was a choice? His performance?
It might have been his natural inclination, but it's still spot on.
Okay.
It reminded me of like Jamie Kennedy in Malibu's Most Wanted. Like, you know, where he's like putting on like to be like this gangsta dude, but he's not. Like, it was just that bad, but at least that one was a parody film.
He lives in Vegas with his white dad, but his heart is in East LA.
Yeah.
How long has he been away from these? He didn't grow up alongside them, and he's coming back, and he's like, hey, I think I know how people act in East LA.
Okay.
I want to be a Vatos Locos.
Oh my God.
Fist pump, VL.
Gross.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Miklo finds San Quentin is run by 3 racially defined prison gangs. The Black Guerrilla Army is led by Bonafide. The Aryan Vanguard is led by Red Rider. And La Onda is led by Montana Segura. Popeye, a high-ranking member of La Onda, tries to rape Miklo, but is stopped by Montana. Miklo learns that the only way into La Onda is by killing an enemy inmate. So he stabs the Aryan Vanguard's Big Al to death. After serving 9 years, Miklo is granted parole and joins in an armed robbery. The heist goes poorly, and Miklo is intercepted by Paco, who shoots him in the leg. The leg has to be amputated, and Miklo is sent back to prison.
Okay, so famously, we have The Godfather that provided the Italians their legendary crime film. Scarface, that gave the Cubans their Godfather. This, without a doubt, is the Chicano Godfather in the scope and scale of this movie. It is 3 hours long, and they cram so much into this time frame and cover years upon years upon years. I told Gene I thought this movie deserved and would have been better as a 2-part film. That's how good this movie was. This should have been broken up and maybe 2.5 hour movies. But they're trying so hard, and you can see that some of it succeeds. They're trying to mimic his style, some of the dramatic lighting. When Miklo's on the phone with Paco and you can see the light on their eyes and it's shot in the shade, it's dramatic. And I really do. We joked about the beginning about some of the performances, but overall, I think this is a movie that accomplishes a lot and deserves to be seen.
I love that you picked this up. I'm right on the same page as you. Blood in, Blood Out is trying to be The Godfather, but it is not The Godfather. It is not as stylish as The Godfather. It is not as beautiful to watch. But we have to kind of temper that expectation by considering how familiar we are with La Cosa Nostra and Italian culture in general, right? So like we have a framework to understand The Godfather because we've seen mob movies. We know about the mob. Italians have been in the country longer, and the Italian underworld that came over from Europe has been in the country longer. It's older and more integrated into the American mainstream. That's not where I'm really disappointed. I'll give them that. What struck me is that this movie looks low budget. Like Blood in, Blood Out looks low budget. It cost $36 million to make in 1993. And yes, The Godfather was made in the 70s, but it only cost $6 million, even accounting for inflation. Like this movie had a much bigger budget than The Godfather and did not accomplish what The Godfather was able to do.
I think a lot of that is they may have spent money on like 8 different composers for this film because the music is like immensely like disjointed throughout a lot of it because you've got the gang scenes, the Coppola scenes, let's call them, that have this very dramatic instrumental music behind them. They feel angsty. It's like these blue hues and they want you to feel what they want you to feel. And it's heavy-handed, but you know it's meant to be these hard scenes. And I bought into it because you've got the blue when they're having like some intense conversations and you got all the orange lighting in prison to match their jumpsuits. And then you have these little variations from that. So like that's one composer. And then you got another one for these vignettes because there's this scene where he's sucking on Big Al's finger in the kitchen. And I swear to you, all of a sudden there's a legit banjo under some hillbilly chords like, and I guess it's because Big Al's white and a redneck, but you'd figure it would be distracting because it sounds like I'm complaining. And like, this is not a Lady Hawk situation because it's strangely charming. Like most of the other things in this movie, these weird musical diversions just make it fucking better.
There's so many things I didn't expect. I didn't expect Miklo to look so white. I didn't expect the action scenes to be so entertaining. I didn't expect Cruz to get dropped on a fire hydrant, but nothing could have prepared me for what you just mentioned, Ash, the sexuality in this movie. When we first meet Miklo's mom, I'd not expect her to be like this hot young morita. And she asked him to zip her up and she's like caressing him like over her back. That shit was muy caliente.
Yes.
And then comes that assassination of Big Al. Now, in most movies, Miklo would befriend him, make him vulnerable, and then kill him. Here, Miklo lets Al grab his ass, and it's like a tight focus shot of the ass grab. He's sucking on Al's finger. He's groping Al's dick. They show that too. And he says things like, I fuck who I want, when I want. And then finally, of course, the kill scene, he drops to his knees and tells Al to lie back and let me lick you clean. Wow.
But don't forget, you had to have the shot to his like really intense fist to let us know it was like #NoHomo, right? Like you had to make sure that he was so straight before very phallically. He doesn't pull out a tiny shiv. He pulls out like a 9-inch screwdriver that he's been hiding somewhere to stab him with.
Oh, but listen, the best is Al, because Al's used to just raping people. But Miklo's going to play hard to get, and he kind of likes it. He's like, ooh, you got to stop teasing me. I can't take no more. So good. So good.
And I'm sorry, though. We have another, like, Miklo moment here where you've got his, like, I'm white on the outside, but brown on the inside speech. And y'all, I loved laughing at this movie. And I almost died with laughter there because you've got this gang leader who's, like, so incredibly serious as he's trying to prove that he's Chicano. And then you get Miklo, like, straining these giant bug-eyed baby blues. Like, no, I'm brown. And it's so bad. But again, I loved every second.
I'm sure thousands of listeners out there are about to roll their eyes. We already compared this movie to Coppola. Now I'm going to do some Kubrick comparisons here. Ash, you mentioned how skillfully Kubrick mixes dark humor into his movies, despite them not being strictly comedies, like we just did with Full Metal Jacket. Blood In, Blood Out, it does that too.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just make me laugh, it makes me scream laugh. When Miklo goes over to Montana and he's like, hey, you didn't get a pork chop in the cafeteria line because Big Al's racist. I'm going to sacrifice my pork chop to you. And Montana's like, I don't want his pork chop. I want his life. That's tattoo worthy. When they're plotting Al's assassination, Magic Mike pulls out a book and it's got like where to stab people to kill them with arrows pointing to all the fatal stabbing points. There is straight up an arrow pointing right up the butt. Paco's undercover cop costumes, like the fucking Jerry Garcia look, fucking hilarious. And then during that heart-to-heart with Miklo, he straight up says, I shot your leg off, and that's something I've got to live with for the rest of my life.
Dude, Gene, don't forget the Black Book of Death also includes an ankle stab. An ankle stab will kill a man. But this movie has so many great lines. And Gene, I'm thinking maybe it's because the character of Miklo is so new to prison. He doesn't know what to say. He's awkward. Popeye is kind of like luring him into the cell and says, come here, you white bitch. Give me some chocho. I was like, wow, this movie's going some places I didn't expect. Or the line when Miklo's shot, I don't want to go to the hospital. That's where people die. This movie is so good. It's so good. And it might sound like we're clowning on this movie, but it fluctuates. It fluctuates and completely surprises me to moments where I'm like, this is off the rails. It's kind of like where you see like a semi on the highway and the wind is pushing it. And you're like, oh, it's going to go over the top, but it doesn't. We get to the armed robbery scene. Miklo's now out. He's tired of trying to do the right thing. His job at the tire shop, he's getting squeezed to pay off some debt and wrongfully accused of stealing money from the money box. So he decides, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be part of this robbery. I'm going to take my own future into my hands. He's manning up, And this robbery scene, as much as I'm expecting it, it's a stakeout of Benjamin Bratt and Biff Tannen sitting there. And once the action starts, don't get me wrong, this is not Heat. It's not Heat at all, but there is a similar style to where we get first person, it's handheld, we're watching the police and the thieves, they're communicating, they're firing, they're moving. And during the gun battle, the camera switches, so we're involved, we're in the fight, and they're moving and bounding from positions of cover and laying down suppressing fire. It looked pretty good. It conveyed the weight and the desperate nature of the situation. So finally, when we get Miklo and Paco together, you can see it's coming to a head that I think they really earn.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're getting a little bit generous here because saying that this is like Heat, I mean, yes, there were cars and guns and someone got shot, but I think that's pretty much the end of the comparisons. Heat is like one of like classically like the most amazing heist scenes of all time, and you've got super sexy Val Kilmer with a ponytail. But the one thing Heat didn't have, I guess, that this movie did were flashbacks to a bedroom tattoo scene in slow motion and a gang initiation before Benjamin Bratt makes a decision to shoot him not once but multiple times in his leg.
I gotta agree with Ash here. It was more Starsky and Hutch than Heat. Listen, I grew up watching a lot of 80s cop shows. Like, that was all I watched as a kid. I fully expected Eric Estrada to like roll up on his like chip cycle and like collar the crooks. It was that cheesy. It looked like the Beastie Boys Sabotage video.
Yes.
Well, no. Again, can I ask you two a question? Have you seen the HD version of this film?
No,
true, I haven't.
That's true. I only saw it on
when
YouTube.
You see the focus shift and the crisp, it's a beautiful scene. It doesn't convey it. No, in the low def mayonnaise version you guys watched, you can't truly grasp or feel the scene.
Made that flashback a lot more of a gut punch.
Yes.
Well, in prison, the Aryan Vanguard want to partner with La Onda's council member Carlos as his cocaine supplier, offering to help take BGA out of the cocaine business. Montana warns that the Aryan Vanguard want to start a war between the Black and Chicano inmates. The council votes in agreement with Montana, so Carlos and a few others leave La Onda to work with the Aryan Vanguard. Carlos' brother, Smokey, bombs the BGA's drug supply hangout in the city, and Carlos kills Pockets, who is running the BGA's operation in San Quentin. As Montana warned, the Aryan Vanguard then lets the BGA murder Carlos.
Okay, and this is one of the cases where I'm really glad I watched this twice, because the first time through Blood In, Blood Out, it was like an appetizer. It just, I got to live in the world for a bit. I got a little bit of the taste, the smells. Upon second watch, I really could appreciate some of the slow development that they do. They're really demonstrating from the very beginning that I didn't pick up on the first watch, the relationship between Juanito and how he idolizes Cruz. And it's extremely important because when Juanito's death comes up, it's a defining moment that destroys the family. It divides every member. And that's the key part of this movie. We've built the family up. We've seen how important it is. So you need to have that destruction, something that's really impactful. And we get a scene where Paco confronts Cruz. He's now, he's keeping it real with what he's painting, and he's gone real dark, Marilyn Manson type shit. And he's painting, and Paco says, you don't get to use Juanito as an excuse to wreck your life, and then Juanito, he always loved me more than you. They're fighting back and forth, and he's accusing Paco of betraying his own people. It's a really deep, rooted hatred, and it's fighting. And I felt it really defined the switch in the movie, and it made all the other changes that happen in the character development. It felt believable and real.
I kind of wish in a 3-hour movie we actually got to know Juanito a little more, because when he died, I was just like, oh, that kid died. It didn't really register with me what a big moment that was until you pointed it out. And I think that's part of the reason his death seems so minor when in fact it is a major deal. For a movie made in 1993, Big D, you talked about those emotional moments. Blood In, Blood Out is also woke as fuck. We see how a nice police officer that's not going to bust them, he's still a figure of harassment on the streets. We see how the art community adores the excitement of non-white culture as long as it's kept safely at a distance. And the movie calls out the prison industrial complex, and Montana breaks down constructs of race, like saying white is a system. That's way ahead of its time. But I've got to ask if Montana was a bit too much of a contradiction as a character. It felt weird to me. He tells Miklo to clean up his act and get back to life outside of prison, but then he also makes Miklo's La Onda initiation killing a man in prison, which tends to keep you in prison a little bit longer.
Yeah, listen, Montana's a hypocrite. He's writing some essay that he's hoping to get published about the Chicano experience and how he's supporting his people and getting legal advice. And he's telling him, you have to earn your freedom. We're just a number. We're $30,000 a year. But then he's putting all of his members in danger. He's preaching peace, preaching support and unity, but he's doing everything to cause death, pain, and suffering.
I just recently rewatched most of that show, Orange is the New Black. And on its second watch, giving it a little bit of space, because it came out originally in 2013. So watching it in 2022, after all the Black Lives Movement has been in place, that show's even more poignant, especially in its earlier seasons. That was such a really great commentary on the hypocrisy of the prison industrial complex. And there's this one line in one of the episodes in season 2 where they talk about how everyone on the inside is doing shit they don't want to do because they have to do it to survive there, and that they only stop doing that shit when they get out. And I think that applies here to Montana. I think that they have to do shit they don't want to do, which is the greatest cruelty of the prison system, right? That they reinforce the stereotypes that people have on the outside of them by forcing them to replay those stereotypes inside in order to stay alive. So I kind of get, you got to kill somebody.
You got to do what you got to do, right?
You got to do it,
Fucking pray Ash is never the capo of your crime syndicate.
Yeah.
Get very fucking dangerous.
Go out. Got to kill him. Here's your 9-inch screwdriver.
Montana and Bonafide meet in the prison yard. Montana convinces Bonafide to agree to a truce if Montana reaches out to La Onda leaders in other prisons to end the violence. The warden grants Montana special permission to visit the prisons, and Miklo is left in charge. While he's away, Montana is stabbed to death by a member of the BGA. Paco arranges a peace conference between La Onda and BGA, but Miklo uses the talks to build an alliance with BGA and plan the joint killing of Aryan Vanguard leaders. After the Aryan Vanguard are dead, Miklo's men promptly exterminate the BGA leaders as well. A furious Paco confronts Miklo, disowning him forever.
So a majority of this film takes place in prison. It doesn't play favorites. I know that the Vatos Locos or La Onda is the protagonist, so we're kind of on their side, but I don't think it portrays anybody in a better light. They're all flawed. They're all bad guys, and it focuses on the nuance of the prison economics, the diplomacy, I think the social stratification of the groups by floor, and it's the constant struggle to survive. But this movie made me realize I should never go to prison. Never. I'm not worried about being somebody's bitch. I think I could stop that. I really do. But I would not know who to trust. As the movie's going on and the groups are negotiating, they're meeting, I'm trusting everyone. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do that. Oh, they couldn't have done that. I believed everyone at face value, and I would be a terrible inmate.
Oh, 100%. When we meet Popeye at the beginning of the movie, and he's like showing Miklo around.
Yeah, he's nice.
You think it's like Red in Shawshank, right? It's like, oh, he's like the nice guy, the veteran inmate that's going to show you around. No, he wants your chocho. I'd be dead in a day. One, not to brag, but I think everyone would want to fuck me in prison.
Oh, yeah.
And two, everyone would want to kill me because I'm an asshole. Like, it would not go well.
No, I think from behind with your long hair, I could convince myself you were female. So if I had you on, yes, you see like that, I could grab your hair. I could visualize with something else. But it would be like Shawshank if Red had tried to rape Andy and had been pulled off of him. That would be what this scene was like.
That's the director's cut.
I think I do really well. I'm very good at playing work politics. I always have been. I can be really manipulative when I want to be, which is not a good quality, but
yeah,
I can. And I mean, what did I say right before this recording? That I love my job, but I hate the fact that I have to consider people's feelings. Like, that's literally something I just said before starting. So,
Ash, you just admitted you'd be ruthless. You would not have a problem killing people. You would be a great gang leader.
I think I would, right?
Could you shank somebody?
Would I shank somebody?
You got to go blood in, blood out. Could you
I mean,
shank?
I could get one of my bitches to shank them for me.
No, you got to kill somebody first. You got to get in.
Now, she does the Charles Manson method.
You convince somebody else to shank them for
right,
you, and
I
then
have
you
to
take
convince
credit?
everybody that I'm God, right?
I mean, we never saw Montana kill anybody.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. I will say that this part of this film reminds me of what I think is one of the most underappreciated shows of HBO of all time, which is Oz. That show was super ahead of its time and showing us like the horrors of prison, the abuses that people suffer there, and the politics of prison, and how incredibly difficult it is to figure out who to trust. And I think it also shows why the whole concept of prisons is dumb. And why it's completely fucked up that we put people in prisons to begin with, and why we don't do something like the Swedes do, where we have like a summer camp for them to go to.
Oh.
This movie, I think, shows us that too, about how dumb it is, because you put all these people together who are violent criminals, like you're obviously going to spur more violence. It's going to spawn that. You got the riot scene, you got the death by stabbing while handcuffed. It's fucking awful. It's dark. It's the base level of human nature. And this movie does a great job of going dark fast, because while we were laughing at a lot of this movie, once this part of the film kicked in, I wasn't laughing anymore. I wasn't expecting it to eventually feel emotional, and it does.
Yeah, people who rave about Blood in, Blood Out, it's always about the laughs. It's always about Miklo being awkward, or like that one scene that's meme-worthy. They rarely talk about the action scenes, the drama, or any of like the politics of it. And all that shit works. The street fights in this movie look pretty legit. The action is messy. It's brutal. It's entertaining. The gang wars in prison, great. We get bludgeonings, we get chokes, we get setting a dude on fire, so many stabbings. And that scene where Montana is fatally stabbed, that shit was intense. Like, you knew it was coming as soon as the guy started talking to him, but there was nothing you could do to stop it. My heart was pounding. I was really uncomfortable for that like 5 minutes of screen time.
Anybody who's a fan of Breaking Bad, there's the famous scene where Walter White works with the Aryans to do like 15 coordinated like prison murders within like a 2-minute span. This felt very much like it. They're on the clock. They even comment within the world saying this was a strategic hit. And it is violent. It is fast. It is well thought out. The double cross comes and you're like, oh shit, where did this come from? The dude is lifting weights and gets a 45-pound plate right in the mouth. I audibly gasped. I was like, oh my goodness.
See, for me, this is where this movie most is paying homage to The Godfather, because there's that scene where they have to take out all the people all at once. And that's exactly, I mean, there's even a shot that looks like almost identical to the shot in The Godfather. He's got the hat, he's got the glasses. Like, it feels like we're, in that movie. But I do agree. It's very dark. It's bleak. And I don't know why, but stabbing has always really frightened me. It seems like it's so personal. It's so painful. I would much rather be shot than stabbed. So watching him bleed out while handcuffed to this cell, and then the guy goes and dismantles the comb to flush the evidence, like it's a lot, and it's dark. It's graphic.
The warden vows to split Loanda's ruling council by sending them to prisons in other states. Miklo uses this to expand Loanda across the Southwest. It is later revealed that Magic, not the Aryan Vanguard, sent forged orders to have BGA kill Montana. This was set up by a reluctant Miklo, who clashed with Montana on the direction that Loanda should take for the gang's future. Back in East Los Angeles, Paco visits one of Cruz's murals, showing a portrait of his former life. Talking with Cruz, Paco realizes that by ordering Miklo to go after Spider, Paco is responsible for what Miklo has become. He ultimately forgives Miklo.
Okay, so I know that we host a podcast. We are not professional in any way, but after 270 some odd movies, you become in tune with what is traditionally done in this time frame of movies. So you get pretty good. When something's coming, I can usually see it. I'm very rarely surprised. And this movie threw me a couple curveballs, and it subverted my expectation. A couple times I was like, oh, we're going to go down this route. Okay. Cruz is high while he's painting. Him and Tuco, they pass out on the couch, and the cigarette is resting against the couch. So I'm like, okay, great. We're going to get a fire here. Somebody's going to get trapped. Juanito comes in, picks up the cigarette. Next thing you know, he's on the ground dead of an overdose. He shot himself up. Did not see it coming. They're doing things that stereotypical filmmakers would have done. Paco, we see him after the break. He's been in the Marines. He was clean cut. Now he is like this hippie drug addict. So I'm immediately thinking, okay, he's coming back. He's served. He's disenfranchised with the military. He's undercover. He's working for the DEA. Again, it subverted what I was expecting. Okay. A final big one here. We get Miklo goes to work. He's lost his leg, so he's got to be in the law library. I'm thinking Andy Dufresne here. He's going to help with the books. He's going to start a letter campaign, or maybe he's going to help people. He's going to study like he got his GED. He bettered himself. He's going to find a loophole. He's going to get himself out. No, Jerry, the other lawyer who owned a bunch of hardware stores, that turns out to be Carlos's Coke connection. All along the way, this film kept throwing me a curveball. Ash will probably tell me she saw them all coming. I did not.
I've had the privilege of co-hosting beside movie detective Big D and Ash's giant brain. So I too feel like I can see these plot twists coming from a mile away. You're absolutely right, Big D. I got taken for a ride on this one. When Paco shoots Miklo, the movie does like a flashback montage. So I'm convinced Miklo is dead. That's when you do the flashback montage. You go back to all the good times you had together, and then you get like a funeral scene next. Nope. Just got his leg blown off.
Yeah.
But the ultimate was discovering the most heartbreaking death in the movie. When Miklo's mentor, Montana, is assassinated on that peace mission, and he's just about to see his daughter after 14 years, we expected him to die. What we didn't know, or at least I didn't know, is that after all those peace talks and warrings between the gangs, fucking Miklo orchestrated Montana's death. I was like, fuck me. When you see that mold of the comb, boom, what the fuck?
No, I think the movie, just like magic, you got to get them to focus on one hand while the other hand is doing it. I'm still trying to think that Miklo has sworn that he's going to get Paco. So the whole time I'm thinking, okay, he's playing nice. He's going to get out. He's going to get revenge. I did not see this coming. When that soap mold came out and you see the comb imprint and Magic Mike, you realize that, Gene, maybe you're right. Maybe that the beginning was less poor acting, but a choice of a naive character. In this point, he's flipped Magic, who loved him, and he's gotten him to portray like a father figure. So this was completely something I didn't see coming.
I don't know. I felt like a lot of these were obvious.
You see.
I have to be honest, and not obvious in a bad way, but the movie was setting itself up for Miklo to be like the head of everything at the end. The second that he survived that gunshot, because like Eugene, I was like, oh shit, did they kill him off? And then I was like, well, maybe it would be a better movie, because at that point I still thought he was awkward AF. The second I realized he was alive, I was like, oh cool, so he's gonna kill everybody and be in charge at the end. That I saw coming, and I think it makes sense. I think that the plot works best if he's the one who orchestrated Montana's death, because in a way it's like the death of his entire like humanity, and it suited the movie best. But the rest I'll give you. This one definitely kept us on our toes more than some other films. I mean, this is no Usual Suspects. Like, there's no Kaiser Soze moment.
You mean the Usual Suspects that gave you no conclusive clues to the ending and then just said, hey, here's an ending.
The Usual Suspects is like, you know, consummately like the biggest twist ever. Or, you know, a lot of people, it was The Sixth Sense, which the first time I saw it for sure, but after that it's really obvious. But I liked it.
The movie should have ended at that reveal. That's the end of the story, right?
Yeah.
But instead, we got to get the happy Hollywood ending. So we get, oh, the Cruz family's reconciled. All of a sudden, everybody is going to forgive Cruz. Oh, emotional hug. Family's back together. Everybody's back together. Then they take it one step further, okay? We're going to get Cruz. His hair is cut short. He's wearing some robe. He looks like a monk or like a Chicano Jesus with short hair. He meets now Paco, and you think, okay, I thought again, maybe this is going to be a hit. Paco's going to end up going down. Miklo's arranged some hit. No. All of a sudden, Cruz's back is better. He can dance. He can shadow box. He can walk up a steep incline. It's the family love that's powered him through this heroin addiction. You didn't need any of this. This is bullshit. The movie's 3 hours long. Cut this final 6 minutes. Make it end on that reveal. You don't even have to say, just let us see the imprint in the soap. Boom, screen goes black. This movie would have been memorable.
I don't know. I do really like the scene with Paco and Miklo at the end, you know, where they have that prison glass between them, and Miklo calls the prison his home, and that Paco, he thanks him for helping him find his home. Like, I got chills in that part. I thought, you know, your guy did a good job there, and Benjamin Bratt is great in that scene. So maybe do that scene and then end it. But I agree with you. Lose the grave scene altogether.
And that scene was totally ripped off by the Batman.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different.
Well, now is the time we give our wipe score for Blood In, Blood Out. Our wipe score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It is getting a fresh tamal straight from East Los, just eating it while you're staring at the Virgin Mary. 5 wipes is an absolute disaster. It is 5 minutes alone with Big Al in the storage locker. Ash, we'll start with you. What is your wipe score for Blood In, Blood Out?
So I loved this movie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. It had decent action. It had great characters. It had great actors. And the best part about it was the characters you actually care about by the end of the movie. It's not perfect, though. I think it was way too long. I don't know if I would have loved 2 movies on this, but I didn't love 3 hours of it. And I still stand by the fact that I think Miklo is pretty awful. He's laughable in a good way. Like you said, Gene, I think you hit it there that he's meme worthy, but I don't know if that necessarily makes it a great film. Otherwise, though, I think it is a great gang prison film. And for me, it's way better than average. So I'm going to go with a solid 1.5 wipes.
I will point out that The Godfather is also 2 hours and 55 minutes long. So lengthwise are about the same, but I understand your critique.
Yeah, I mean, The Godfather, there's The Godfather. Like, I mean, like, that movie, I think, needed to be as long as it was. And I think it's beautifully shot. And I think that's a piece of art. I think this is a movie that's really fun to watch.
Well, be glad you didn't get the 5-hour original cut of this movie, because that would have been something to sit through.
I'd like to see that. Own it on Blu-ray. That'd be great.
I would fly out to Florida and watch it with you.
Oh, that'd be great.
The movie's got to be as long as my flight. That's the rule. I can't believe that Blood In, Blood Out hasn't been picked up as an HBO series. I mean, Ash, you talked about Oz. There is so much storyline to work with, and you could expand it into La Onda's expansion across the U.S., but nothing would compare to the original. It's so quirky. It has so many amazing moments, so many quotable characters, and it's such an individual movie. It's so unique. This really is a movie that outshines its trailer. It outshines its reputation, and it outshines its sometimes clunky moments. By the way, I am obsessed with this movie like no other movie that we've ever watched. This has gotten in my blood. I bought a t-shirt. I got tipped off to Christacat, small mom and pop shop. Go check them out if you love Blood In, Blood Out. I also started following like social media accounts like Chased by Hounds, that is an Instagram feed that is solely devoted to Blood In, Blood Out. I talk about this movie with everyone. It's changed the way I talk. I call everyone Carnal now. Like, I cannot fucking help it.
Carnal.
And the accent starts to seep out. And I've been living in Arizona like basically my entire fucking life. So this is an incredible movie, but you're right, Ash. It does have its flaws. It's one wipe for me.
So Gene sent us the links and said he was going to buy us a t-shirt. And I said, if my white ass is walking around with a Vatos Locos t-shirt, I'm going to get shot. I think he's setting me up to be hit.
That Tres Putos, like spider shirt, is the most fucking incredible. You need it. You need it in your life.
Yeah, this is a hit. This is where I get shot, and Gene acts like he had no idea this would happen. But listeners out there is a documentary called Miklo, Blood In, Blood Out, full documentary about the character, the making of the movie. Well worth it. This film shocked and surprised me. Is it The Godfather? No, but it's damn good. It tried. It had a huge budget. It's well worth it. It is an epic crime drama that covers years. It builds the characters. It tears them down. It shows the value of family. Everything, I think, works. Is it perfect? No. And Gene, I'm going to give this a score that is affected because you hated when I would give things like a 0.9 or like a 1.3. So you've locked me into quarter point scores.
Thank you.
So I would have given this like maybe like a 0.9, but I can't do that. I'm not going to give it a 1 because I think it's better than that. So I'm going to give it a 0.75 wipe.
I oscillated between 0.75 and 1, and I could only say that the production quality is what caused me to go with 1. But this movie has changed me like no other movie that we've watched. I just feel like a different man after having seen it.
Gene, anyone who's listening to this podcast can hear it. As you were reading the plot blocks, you would fluctuate in and out of a Chicano Gene.
Dude, I'm Miklo. Persian kid, comes into a largely Mexican-dominated school system, grows up in a neighborhood, gets shot by a rival gang, you know?
It is. Well, here's the point in the podcast where our listeners lose their shit. With a score of 1.08 wipes, that now ties this in the 54 spot with 7 and True Lies.
Oh, yeah. The True Lies, the classic that everyone will argue with you.
I mean, I think 7 is much better than this movie.
No.
But
it's really not.
It's
surprisingly shit.
I watched it at Halloween.
Here's what I'm going to say. I've come up with a reason here. If you two gave this movie 1 wipe and 1.5 wipes in a Crisco tainted, like smearing butter on your TV, if you guys watch the HD version, it is at least a half a wipe better for both of you.
I don't think so.
I guarantee it.
The dialogue's the same and it's still the same length, and I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, but you could see like the details to Miklo's face that show. They give you the hint that he's Chicano.
Yeah, it's Ash. You would know where the shank was hidden. You wouldn't have to guess because you can't see it in the Crisco version.
I'm gonna stick by my 1.5. I watched it twice. I feel solid.
Beads of sweat on Big Al's face when he was just waiting in anticipation of that.
When he's sucking his finger, you can see the vein pulsing in Big Al's head. It's good.
I feel good.
Well, thank you, Paul, for changing all of our lives in a way that can never be reversed. Ash, let's move on to this week's mailbag.
So we've got 2 this week. The first one comes in from Nikolai C., and he's entitled it Soren over Silverado. And he says, "Greetings and salutations, my fellow comrades. I listened to the Silverado episode and enjoyed the music comparison to the Disney ride Soren. And I thought Big D gave an overall good description of the ride, but of course the Ash woman shat all over his summary. Ride is called Soren, not Soaring. Ride used to be called Soren over California and would not go across the U.S. but over the state of California. I wish they called the ride Conair over California. They piped orange scent when going over orange groves. It made me hungry and want to wrestle bear. Ride is now Soren, aka Soren, around the world, and soar across parts of the US and the world, Paris, the Taj Mahal, but not the mother country. It is a fantastic ride, and hopefully Gene can take a break from football game to enjoy one day. Go Krasnodar. I love Disney World and the movie Sorcerer's Apprentice. Great acting. Super show. Keep up the good work to all of you. Red Dawn is an excellent movie, but I wish the Wolverines all died in the end. Your national treasure, Nikolai C.
So having not been on Soren, I got to ask, how does it compare to the big Harry Potter ride?
So the big Harry Potter ride is amazing.
Yeah, it's
incredible.
It's
awesome. And you feel like you're really in it. I mean, first of all, I can't say Soren. It sounds awful. Soaring, I think, is it's a fine ride. I mean, the tech is outdated now, I feel like, comparatively to what other things are, because it only uses the screen, right? The cool thing about the Harry Potter ride is you go back and forth between the screens and like real life objects, like when you dodge like the Whomping Willow and all that kind of stuff. So I prefer the Harry Potter ride, but Soren's okay. I don't hate it.
Best of luck to Krasnodar in the Russian League, Nikolai. Thanks for writing it.
All right, up next, we have one from Jessica. And Jessie says, hey, guys, your show came up in my recommendations the other day, and I was tickled pink that 3 O'Clock High was the first film on the list. I'm 42, so I was only about 10 when it made its way to cable, and I haven't watched it as an adult and an appreciator of film. Having done so now, Buddy's character fascinated me. There was something that really stood out to me that didn't get touched upon in the episode. It was what Buddy says to Jerry after he calls him a pussy. He says, you didn't even try. It almost felt like one of those things where a parent pulls the I'm not mad at you, I'm disappointed in you, which feels way worse. This is proven in the next scene where Jerry is on the roof and realizes what a cowardly move that was and decides that he's going to live up to Buddy's expectations and try. When Jerry goes back and challenges him, Buddy doesn't laugh at him or taunt him or even just beat the shit out of him right then and there. He almost seems proud of him for coming back. When Buddy shows up after losing the fight and slams the money down on the table, Jerry doesn't back down and show fear or intimidation. Then Buddy gives him a faint smile and walks away. He wanted Jerry to succeed. Buddy's extreme aversion to touching is an obvious indication of severe PTSD, and maybe Jerry's vulnerability triggered something in him to make Jerry prove to him that kindness isn't weakness. Or who knows, maybe he's just a Dark Souls boss. Anyway, yeah, guys, great stuff. Can't wait to binge on your work, and we'll be eagerly awaiting more. Cheers, Jesse.
Jesse, I feel like Big D particularly touched on a lot of those topics, but I do appreciate the Dark Souls joke. Don't touch the sword, Jesse. Don't touch the sword.
No, and I want to address one last thing with Soren. One of our followers on Instagram, Sus0909, wrote and said, it's funny you guys mentioned the score from this movie, and it reminded you of Soren. While Bruce Broughton didn't compose the music for the original version of the ride, he apparently retooled the score for the newer version of the ride, Soarin' Around the World. He also composed the music for the other Epcot rides, Spaceship Earth, and Ellen's Energy Adventure, which is no longer there. So it's actually cool that we were able to pick up on the fact that it was a similar style song. So I appreciate the comment. It was nice to know we weren't too far off. And Gene, one final thing I want to address. We do have our voicemail line that you can call in with your comments, or our speaker pipe. We did receive a prolonged butt dial from one of our listeners who might not know that they called us, but someone from the phone number 781-249-77 something called us with a 2.5-minute message of you doing something. So you might want to call us back and explain what you were doing and what you were thinking. But that's it from our listeners, Gene, this week. And I'm excited that next week we will be reviewing another fantastic film from our memories growing up, at least mine. This is a great, great memory. And next week on the planet of Krull, an evil creature called the Beast decimates the world's army and kidnaps the lovely Princess Lisa, who is destined to become queen. Her brave beau leads a motley band of warriors, including Ergo and Keegan, to rescue his beloved. However, before they can face the beast, Colwyn must locate a mystical weapon known as the glaive, which he can use to slay the hideous villain. And this was commissioned by Lawrence S. And man, I remember this movie. And anyone who grew up at this time should remember the box cover.
It bothers me so much that the glaive is not an actual glaive. It's like a throwing star. Like, what the fuck? Stay tuned next week to hear me talk about that for a half hour. Thank you, Lawrence, for commissioning our upcoming movie. Thank you, Paul, for commissioning Blood In, Blood Out. And thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media, share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. You can email us, host@shatthemovies.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or commissioning your own movie. Find all that information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all that information on our website, shatontv.com, wherever fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by iTunes, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-hosts, Ash and Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Be sure to join us next week for the following movie.
On a distant planet, a great kingdom was ravaged by beings who came from the future to conquer the universe. Now, the only survivors follow a doubtful seer and a throneless king.
They will hold her in the Black Fortress. You must have help.
Thieves, bandits, fighters and brawlers.
Desperate men. Those are the kind of men I need.
Well, you heard him. We are now an army.
At the end of an impossible journey, they must fight an invincible enemy.
Here's the knowledge you seek.
I shall be your king.
In the fortress, you will face more than the Slayers.
What is about to happen to them could never have happened on Earth. Columbia Pictures presents a world apart from anything you have seen before. Crow.
All right, you white bitch, come here and give me some choke show.